existence.
Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you can see and hear me all right. I've got a couple new lights in the studio, so hopefully things look a little bit cleaner. I've been using these cheap, like Amazon lights, $40. I mean, you know, you can get good stuff off Amazon, but, and finally was like, you know, I should get some real lights. So I got them. I also have another camera set up here. There you go. So 2 cameras, a couple new lights, and we're going to get right into this. Today, we're talking about something that is, to me, it's really important. And that is, where is the line between too much noise reduction and not enough? And it's something that really bothers me when I'm watching a TV show or a movie or listening to a YouTube video. It's easy to overcook things. You know, it's like, I kind of liken it to overcooking chicken. You know, if you've ever had really dry chicken, maybe your mom cooked the chicken too long or a friend, and it's like eating boot leather. Can easily do the same thing to recorded audio, specifically the human voice, which is something we're very sensitive to. So kind of an outline of what we're going to talk about on this hour-long stream is vocal processing, different tools for vocal processing, and then like how you draw the line between too much noise reduction and not enough. And this stream idea actually comes from one of our members, which is Simon. Simon, I asked people, you know, in our members only Discord, what would be a good topic for discussion for this week? Because I like to, focus the discussion on what people want to see. And we have a mix on the channel of professional audio, re-recording mixers, dialogue editors, but also people who are just starting out. So, I try to tailor the content to, fit kind of both groups of people. So we have, it's tough because you have people with like 10, 15, 20 years of experience, and then you have people who are just like barely getting started. So we're going to try to cover the bases for everyone. And in the chat this morning, we've got Mr. Nelson, House of Jen, Mike Wax, Post Audio for Media. I'm sure other members will show up. Thank you, members, for supporting the channel. You guys really, and gals, really keep this channel going strong. And I'm working doubles right now. So I'm doing the live streams, and I'll get back to doing edited videos once work cools down. But, you got to make hay while the sun shines. So I'm really thankful for the work, and I'm going to keep streaming, and I'll get back to more, doing twice a week uploads and streams once work slows down. But I got to make some money right now. So let's just go right into we're going to work in ProTools. Obviously, this will work well. The techniques we're going to talk about will work well in any platform you use, whether it's DaVinci, Final Cut, Pro Tools, Cubase, Nuendo, Logic, GarageBand, Cool Edit Pro, Vegas. Pick your flavor of software, and all the techniques we're going to talk about in Pro Tools are going to work just fine. So you've got options for noise reduction. And throughout this stream, if you guys have questions, please just pop in the chat. Even after the live stream is done, drop a comment and ask, because I really like to not just babble on what I think is important, but also, other people. So we've got a question here. Youngstar Productions. Still an achievable career. I feel like I'm getting nowhere with getting a job in the field. This is a really relevant question. Something I've kind of asked myself. It's not really in the topic of what we're going to discuss, but it's right in front of our faces. So Can you make a living doing post-production? The past 2, actually now going on 3 years, has been very hard on the film industry, also commercials, TV, like basically the whole entertainment sector is going through a massive shift. So it has a lot of people questioning their careers. I would say if you can learn to pivot a little bit with post-production, focus on the people creating content, get in with those people, you will have a nice, full, long career. Some of the YouTubers I've worked with actually paid better than some of the film stuff I've worked on. So you just have to get that connection and find the work. But the glory days of, the streaming wars, which ended in like 2022, of just content being churned out, those are over. So the cream will rise to the top. People who are really skilled will end up finding work, and the kind of mid-range people and the lower people are going to really struggle to make a living. Whereas those people were working, 60-hour weeks 3 years ago. So very difficult, but still possible. You just have to figure it out, I don't know how to explain it other than that. Okay, so noise reduction. You have so many options for noise reduction now. Like when I first started, you basically had Cedar, DNS. We had like DNS 2000s and stuff, DNS 1000s. These were hardware units. Now, we use a lot of plugins for this. So Cedar has been around for a long time. They're actually, I don't know if I'd call them a sponsor, but they did give me an affiliate link. So if you like what you hear with some of the Cedar plugins we're going to demo here, you can go, I've got this link on the video description. This helps support the channel a little bit, but also I just like Cedar. It sounds really transparent, and I've been using it for, 15 years now. So yeah, Cedar is great and a little old fashioned, but they are changing things up and they've dropped their prices like thousands of percent. It's crazy. This plugin cost, I think, $5,000 when I first started, and now it's like $300. So props to them for that. You got Cedar for broadband noise reduction. You also have, this is not necessarily a real-time tool. I've seen people use this as an insert. It's all these fancy AI ones, I'd say use them as an audio suite. Or if you're in, if you're in DaVinci, you would use this as a clip effect instead of a live insert on a track. So we're going to work on these tracks at the bottom. In fact, I can probably make the rest of these super tiny. This is just routing and stuff. So we're mostly going to be talking about using live inserts, because that is, you need the flexibility when you're working to be able to tweak things as you get music, sound effects, backgrounds. So generally noise reduction isn't just a set and forget. You have to always be tweaking it and kind of changing it to suit the other material. So Acon is another brand. You've also got Hush. I think I demoed this and then I didn't actually buy it. iZotope actually has quite a few options. For broadband noise reduction, you're likely going to be using It has an adaptive mode. You can also learn based on just a noise profile. And then you've got some settings here to change it. And there's so many other, Waves has their noise reduction. There's Clear. There's, help me out, guys. There's so many different ones. Dialogue, something. You have plenty of options when it comes to noise reduction. So we've got some questions I'll go back and hit in just a second. Let me make sure I'm on track here. I need to make sure to explain things for beginners too. So let me back up a little. DX Revive, thank you. Yeah, DX Revive is another one. So let me back up a little bit. So why do we need to use noise reduction and what does it do? If you have a voice recording and it has some noise, then generally, if the noise is competing with the dialogue or you need the dialogue to be cleaned up for story purposes, then you want to remove some of the noise, but you want to be very careful because it's easy to take out too much. So the first decision you have to make is, do I need to use noise reduction? The answer is not always yes. You don't always have to use noise reduction. In fact, a good dialogue edit, you can use no noise reduction, which is my preferred way of mixing. Sometimes you have to smooth things out a little bit, especially if the dialogue edit is terrible and they just did little short fades and the noise pops in and out, then you're going to have to. They've really tied your hands. So it starts with the dialogue edit, and you don't noise reduce during the dialogue edit. Your job during the dialogue edit is to make things consistent, smooth, and seamless and take out imperfections. But the broadband noise, anything that's for like a whole shot or whole scene, leave that for the mix. Because once you add music, you add sound effects, you may find that you don't need to use noise reduction. So that's the kind of the first rule is first ask yourself the question, do I even need to use noise reduction? The answer could easily be, no, I don't. The noise reduction isn't necessary because the noise is consistent. It fits the scene, like it sounds like it looks. So I'm not going to do that. And the reason I say you don't always need noise reduction is because any noise reduction, even the best, most expensive, fanciest, even 10 years from now, the noise reduction degrades the quality of the original recording. And it might be just imperceptible little things that it does to round off the edges or make it a little less sharp or actually take away clarity. So it's the very first thing you should do, and the most important thing is ask, do I even need noise reduction? Then the question you're answering today is, how much do I actually need? So that's kind of just for beginners. Most of us know that, but it's worth revisiting. Let's go through some questions really fast. Okay, this is good. Mr. Nelson says, probably going too far ahead, but how much should one rely on high and low pass filters so that the real-time noise reduction doesn't work as hard? Well, let's start with that. That's a great, this is you guys driving the car, which I really like. So I'm going to do Pro Q3 on here just because it's nice visual aid. Do I have my dialogue preset? No, I don't. That's okay though. We're going to set this up from scratch. So for dialogue, which is what we're focused on here, you are not going to need much info below, let's say 80 Hertz. There are some caveats to this. I've worked on projects where the talent had a very nice low end. Morgan Freeman's a good example. You're going to have to open this bad boy up, you know, to like 50 Hertz or so. Let's make this bigger. Even bigger, more. Even bigger, very large. Okay, so yeah. So here's our high pass. This is cutting the lows. And like I said, low James Earl Jones or Morgan Freeman, like you're going to have this around 40, 50 Hertz if you want to keep the fundamental of their voice. For most people, 80 to 100 is good. What I actually like to do with this is changes to a 6 dB per octave and have it be up pretty high. This gentle slope ends up smoothing the low end. So the rumble, traffic rumble, room tone rumble is going to be reduced by quite a bit. But it's actually like at 130 Hertz, it's only down 3 dB. So that's a subtle shift. Down at 30 Hertz, you're down like 70 decibels. So high pass is a good start. Low pass is, you could do the same thing with a 6 dB per octave and have this down around like 12 or 10,000 Hertz, 10K. What happens then is at 10K, you're only down, 2 dB, but at 20K, you're down like, what is that? 6 dB. So nice, gentle. I like to do these kind of curves versus like a 24, and you get resonances right at the filter cutoff. So this is a good starting point for helping your noise reduction do the most. And I'm copying this to the other tracks. So good question. Okay. Yeah. How often do you find yourself automating your noise reduction? Every single mix. Happens every time I mix. How can you remove background voices if you can hear extras talking from time to time? That you got to be pretty surgical with. I know the Waves Clarity says it can do that. I had mixed results with it. So You have to draw them out in spectral editing, and that's the way I do that. Can you voice denoise in non-adaptive mode real time as an insert? In non-adaptive mode? Yes, of course. Since you can't automate the learn feature, it can't change according to each scene's noise profile. So what the what iZotope voice denoise does is, if you have it in adaptive mode, it will adapt in real time. So you don't have to automate and relearn. But yeah, if you are using it as a non-adaptive mode, then you do have to basically learn every scene and automate the parameters. And I can show you how to do that, but really you should be doing that with most noise reduction. That's not automatic. And that comes with mixing, automation. I'll just add that to the list of stuff to show you guys. Plugin best practices. I'll put in this automation. Automation, and we've had 2 questions about it, so kind of makes sense. When denoising, do you also select tone, fill, bridging, 2 different angles? Like if you had fill on a separate track, smoothing on an angle change. Okay, so I don't work that way. And I highly recommend you don't cut your dialogue with a fill track. Fill on the actual tracks. What I mean by that is, if you have this, this is noisier because this is the boom. Fill it on the actual track, because adding a fill track, we'll just call this Phil. Well, they're going to spell like Uncle Phil. See if you guys know what show that's from. If you do this and you fill it, what are you doing? What are you doing here? Well, you're adding noise to the entire scene. So I don't want to add noise to the entire scene. What I want to do is just fill in and make the transition smooth. And the nice thing about working this way too is you can highlight, you can do your noise reduction, you can do your EQ, and it applies it to the noise and the signal. So don't use a fill track. Fill tracks are crutches for sloppy editing. So don't do that. Bad, bad, bad. Slap your hand. John Yo, hi Thomas, I'm sure you've discussed this before, but is there generally accepted loudness or mix ratio between dialogue, sound effects, music for host-presented educational TV content? No, there's not. You mix it so it sounds good. You have loudness specs. For YouTube, it's going to be -14. For TV, it's going to be -24. But there's no keep your music at -30. The most important thing is that you can hear every word that's spoken, and that the other elements support the main thing. If the main thing's dialogue, the music supports the dialogue. The sound effects support the dialogue. If the sound effects are the main thing, the music and dialogue should support that. Don't Christopher Nolan it and make the sound effects and music the star of the whole thing, though. People want to hear the dialogue. Okay. Good question. Are there equivalent settings in RX for adjusting the softness of the knee like you showed in FabFilter? Let's check it out. Check it out. Connect. I have to make sure I don't have any weird, any stuff you guys can't see, in other words. No, okay. Okay, so, I mean, if we want to EQ in here, I guess we can. Haven't done this too much. So we're going to do high pass filter. Can we adjust? We can. We can do 12. We can do 24. We can do 48. Ooh, don't do brick wall. Stick with 12 for dialogue. Generally for dialogue, gentle, calm. You want to caress the dialogue. You want to romance the dialogue. You want to entice the dialogue to cooperate. You don't want to hit it with a hammer. You don't want to just ram the dialogue. The dialogue is not going to like that. The dialogue is not going to call you back for a second date. So be gentle, be empathetic, be careful, be loving, be kind to your dialogue. Okay. What were we doing? We were doing, okay, we're talking about EQ. I was going through comments. That's right. Okay. Fresh Prince, Mike got it. Hi, Tom. I'm wondering if there is a way to improve audio that contains a widespread frequency spectrum. For example, the sound of a car driving on a wet road. It produces this harsh crackling noise. Yeah, so you want to decrackle, declick, then you want to EQ, then you want to noise reduce in that order. Paco, should room tone also be on my main tracks? So room tone, if you're talking about dialogue, fill, yes, they should be on the main tracks. If you're talking about ambience, put those on your sound effects tracks. Chase Nixon, the toughest thing I struggle with is cutting from one shot that is super noisy to another that isn't. Same location, it goes back and forth between those two shots throughout the scene. That is a common lament of your modern dialogue editor. So Chase, what you need to do for that is you need to have long stretches of fill, like 10 seconds. And you might even have to fill from cut to cut, like fill this whole gap with relevant tone so that you cannot hear the shifts. And that is like probably the hardest part of dialogue editing. And I do that, like the past couple weeks I've been dialogue editing 48.6 hours a week. And that is like the biggest thing is finding or creating fill, which I could do a whole stream on. Actually, that's a good idea for next week, maybe dialogue fill. So yeah, you want to fill it out so it's completely smooth. And for me, the test of a dialogue edit is when I feel like the dialogue edit is done, I will switch up my monitoring. If I'm on speakers, I will grab, I just dropped my camera case. I'll grab my headphones, pop the headphones on. If I'm listening at 85, I will dim the monitors or run the audio to my TV. And I'll listen back to the scene. And if I can't push play and listen to the entire scene without hearing a shift, if I can't do that, it's not done yet, you know? So you need to go back and fill more. We have a super chat, which is cool. I don't get too many of these. I don't know what HUF 1000 means. If it's $1,000, holy cow, thanks. I'm going to buy some more plugins. If it's like 50 cents, holy cow, thanks. Thank you for supporting the channel. So really appreciate it. And it's from a member, which makes it even better. That's cool. So yeah, cutting from shot to shot where it's noisy and not noisy is difficult. Do you lay a bed of fill that matches the noisier track? Yes. Exactly, Chase. If you have a super noisy track, you can just plow all the way through the scene, you know, fill here. I'll just group it for now. Fill here. I call that an anchor track because the noisier shot anchors the whole scene. You do have to be careful about the less noisy shots and make sure, like if you noise reduce this one and you take 20 dB of noise out, what happens to the not so noisy shot? So then you maybe might want to mute this and just listen to the other tracks. There's a whole, gosh, I could talk for hours on dialogue editing and you guys would hate it. Okay. Margarita Varbanova says, hey Tom, how do you assess the balance of fills with the actual room tone so we don't overdo the noise? Okay, so for adding backgrounds, I've had directors ask specifically, mute all the backgrounds, take out the backgrounds. We don't need backgrounds. The dialogue is noisy enough. And so be prepared to do that. If you're editing and you're adding backgrounds, make sure the dialogue edit plays without backgrounds. If you're doing the whole sound edit, sound effects and dialogue. If you're just doing dialogue, don't count on the background sound effects editor doing a great job. Figure that the production sound is the background. That's the free backgrounds, you know, that are recorded by the PSM, the production sound mixer, and just embrace them. You know, fill it out to where it sounds realistic. So yeah, the older I get, the less noise reduction I do, and that's why I wanted to do this stream because I see greenhorns, people who are less experienced, they just start rubbing their hands together and they say, oh, I got all these tools. I got noise reduction out the wazoo. I got 10 noise reduction plugins. I'm going to use every single one to the max. I'm going to nuke this chicken in the microwave for 10 minutes and it's going to come out rubbery. I'm just going to add salt on top with some EQ. I'm going to add a cup of pepper with my compression. And what do you get? You get this disgusting, nobody wants to eat that. Keep that chicken moist. Throw it on the grill for a little bit and then pull it off. You don't have to hammer everything with every tool in your arsenal. Okay, so good question. Or do you just do really long fades? You can do that. You can do that, Chase. Make sure they're super long, like 10, 20 seconds, you know, so that it just sneaks in. Okay, if you don't use a fill track, what do you do if you have a gap in the dialogue edit? You fill it. You fill this gap. See this gap right here? These are just files I threw in. I'm going to fill that with, sure, let's do this. You know what? Why not? Why the H not? That H was for heck. Okay, so I love Absentia DX. If I could work for Todd.io, I would seriously consider it. They just make some really useful stuff. This is going to take a while, so I'm going to kind of probably talk while this happens, but Airtone generator, Absentia DX, Airtone, render. Can I, oh yeah, I can still talk while this goes. I'm running my microphone through ProTools, so I always wonder, like, if I audio suite stuff, the auxes still work. And while that's going, I can babble a little bit. I mean, we could, this takes, it's done. This is not chicken. This is more like a rice. This is rice for our burrito here. So if you have a gap in your dialogue, make some fill, bridge that gap. Look at that. Perfect. Now we've got fill through this entire sequence, and I can use it. I can even label this. We'll call this ring O2 ABDX fill more traffic. The mixers love this because then they know there's no dialogue in here they have to dig out. So this has happened before. No audio. Yeah, this has happened before on a stream, and I'm wondering if it's my Streambox or if it's Pro Tools, because I'm running my mic through Pro Tools. But anyways, so yeah, we've got this fill, and you can copy and paste, and you can use the fill on the front and back. So that's how you do that. But demonstrated it, we're not actually doing that. Yeah, if you guys notice my audio cutting out, let me know, because I tried to troubleshoot it on one of my other streams to see, was it Pro Tools or was it YouTube? And I think it's YouTube because I wasn't doing anything weird. But yeah, if it dies during audios, I was watching the meters though. The meters on my stream thing said that it was fine. I really want to buy like a channel strip, an analog channel strip, and just run my mic through that, so I don't even have to touch Pro Tools. But one kind of cool thing is, what have you guys been listening to me through? It's actually this. It's Cedar Screenbox. This is a low latency noise reduction plugin by Cedar, and for like live streams or for using as an insert, it's pretty dang good. I mean, it's like, I would almost replace my DNS ones with these. I'm going to try it and see if this works. But we're going to demo this. We haven't even listened to these audio samples yet. So let me put on some headphones. Okay, headphones on. And we are going to start listening to this stuff.
You brought a gun, man?
I want it back.
Here.
Put it down.
So there's a ton of traffic noise in there. You know, really kind of difficult to even hear what they're saying. We do have an EQ on here to smooth off, but I mean, it's broadband noise. You know, it's not really,
You brought a gun?
it's not focused in low or high bands. So what we have to do is go and start doing some noise reduction to this. And this is the meat of this stream, is how much, and I want you guys to hear what happens. So I actually want to let you guys pick what tool we use. So for options, I'm going to give you 3 options and you guys pick. We're going to go through all 3, but we'll do the first one. So we've got Cedar, we got DNS1, we've got VoiceX, we've got ScreenVox. So those are the 3 Cedar options. And then we've got iZotope, Dialogue, Denoise, I think it's called. And we've got Acon, or I can cook up a multiband noise reducer using the stock ProTools multiband dynamics. So you guys get to pick. I'm going to check the chat and see. DNS1 got the first votes. Let's go for that. Okay. DNS1 it is. I'm going to just loop this and not talk too much.
You brought a gun, man.
I want it back.
Here.
Put it down.
I would, man. You brought a gun, man.
I want it back.
Here.
Put it down.
I would, man. You brought a gun, man.
Okay, so first I wanted to show you guys what happens when I do what I would say is an okay amount of noise reduction. So you can see I'm only dropping the noise down about 3 dB. It's actually more than that because each band sums. So it's probably more like 6 to 8 dB. But I know from experience, if I push these faders down more than that, you will start to really hear the processing. So I think we could all agree this setting is acceptable. There's a little bit of ghosting, gating. You can hear the gate open and close. But as I bring these down, you'll see why I prefer that to more processing.
You brought a gun, man.
I want it back.
Here.
Put it down.
I would, man. My back. It's just, this job really takes a toll on the body.
So as we do more noise reduction, all we're really doing is turning everything down, even the voice. So that's why, the whole purpose of our discussion today is how much is too much. Once you can start to hear the plugin working, it's too much. You want it to be transparent. And it's easy to get into this mindset of, well, it's going to be fine once I add the music, or people at home won't hear it. But as professionals, we need to be better than that and actually justify, does this support the story or the performance? Once you're taking everything out, throwing out the baby with the bathwater, you are hurting the story and performance. So you have to go very carefully with each step. So like I said, 3 dB, just shave a little bit off the top is all I'm looking to do. I want to keep it as natural as possible. And let's phase align these because I'll show you some other stuff too when you have multiple mics. Boom, individual clip by clip, render it. So these are all aligned now. Okay. So let's go to a noisier example, which has a waterfall, but it has a higher signal to noise ratio.
I would, man, but my back.
Sorry, this is right. Yeah, this is at the waterfall.
I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Just here.
So you can hear every time the character speaks, there's a little bit of noise that pokes through. And that is one of the kind of hallmarks, for lack of a better word, of Cedar DNS1, is it is so transparent. You do get a little bit of the gate bleed, but that is kind of the Hollywood sound, is not taking out so much noise. You get the digital artifacts, the space monkeys. People call them space monkeys. Let's try, what was the second one? We got a bunch of votes for Cedar. Alex says, it might be my internet bandwidth. I have gig up and gig down. So my internet absolutely mogs all of you guys. There's no way it's bandwidth. It's going to be something with YouTube or my box, my stream box. It could be because I'm using hardware to stream. Okay. Let's check out. I was looking to see what the second voice denoise. Let's do that. And actually, I'm going to leave this. I'm going to leave Cedar on here and just make it inactive so we can A, B, C, D comparison this voice denoise. Let's leave this in adaptive mode.
Put it down.
So the first thing with voice denoise is you have to turn the reduction way down. Don't go above 6.
You know, I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Look, you know, just here, take it.
So 6 dB is about as far as I would go. And yeah, let's crank this up.
You know, I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Look, you know, just here. You know, I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Look, you know, just here. You know, I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Look.
So that you can hear as I crank the reduction up, you start to get those digital artifacts. I'd say let's keep this around 8 and we'll call that good. There's a couple more questions. Greg says your audio drops every 5 minutes for 3 to 5 seconds. Interesting. Paco, why do you use an EQ using on each track? So Paco, if I want to adjust my EQ, like for example, if I had a low voice, if I have just an aux, I'm not going to be able to do that. You know, maybe I'll have that character on a certain track. So with an EQ on each track, I can adjust it for each voice, which is really nice. Let's use the stock Pro Multiband Dynamics. I've already got presets for this.
You know, I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Look, you know, just here, take it.
Cool. And then, I mean, let's try, was there another? Oh, the Acon. We'll just, like I said, I don't really use this one for broadband real time.
You know, I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Look.
This is quite a bit of reduction. And,
you know,
the interesting thing about Acon is it does have artifacting, but it's a different kind of artifacting. It's a lot more, it's easier to not hear the artifacting with Acon, but it sounds more uncanny valley-ish than some of the other ones. It's not as much of a gate. It's like a synthesis artifact. It's very interesting.
You know, I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Look, you know, just.
So this is, it's really hard to explain this to somebody who doesn't do audio, which I'm lucky I have you guys, because you are either interested in audio or you work with audio, so you can understand some of the terms. So the problem with these AI noise reduction tools is they give you that unhuman sound, I guess. So the gate breathing in and out is, you know, it's not ideal, but I would prefer that sound to that synthetic pre and post schmutz on the audio. It's like, it's hard to explain, but it's almost like a halo around the audio. And yeah, I mean, I've used Clarity. I've used so many different versions of it. I've tried Waves Clarity and I didn't really get along with it too well. DX Revive I tried, didn't get along with it too well. It did some weird stuff to the low end, the bass frequencies that I just didn't like. So the ones that I do use regularly, I've chosen because they're the most transparent. To me, that's the most important thing. So yeah, so Clarity is kind of no, not Clarity, sorry. This Acon Digital Extract is kind of the most AI I'll get, but I have extensively tested all of them. Clarity, DX Revive, Hush, and these are the ones I've settled on using. So let's go ahead and compare these all now. I'm going to make them all active, which is going to be crazy. And we'll just go, maybe it's better. Yeah, if I duplicate it, I'll just bypass these for now because that's a little faster. So let's go through each one of these.
You know, I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Look.
So this is Acon. The first one we're listening to is Acon.
You know, I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Look. You know.
This is Pro Multiband Dynamics. Let's go to Voice Noise from iZotope.
You know, I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body.
And then finally we'll do Cedar.
You know, I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Look. You know. You know, I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Look. You know. Just here. You know, I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Look. You know. Just here. You know, I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Look. You know. Just here.
If I could kind of sum up what I'm hearing, each one of those does a pretty good job of removing the noise. I'm interested on how you guys would rank them. I'll go through them one more time and I'll actually call out what we're listening to because I know it's a little hard to see on the screen. So to start with, this is just the raw audio with a high and low pass filter.
You know, I would, man, but my back and you know, I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Look. You know. Just here. You know, I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Look. You know. Just here. You know, I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Look. You know. Just here. You know, I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Look. You know. Just here. But my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Look. You know. Just here.
So instead of vocally calling them out, I figured I would just bring up the plugin interfaces. So which do you guys think sounds the best? I'm interested to hear. The trouble with streaming some of this stuff is the audio gets compressed when it goes to YouTube. So you guys aren't hearing the full, PCM wave quality. There's going to be actually artifacts in the stream. So, but with the limitations of that, let me know what you think was the best sounding out of those four. We had DNS1, we had RX11 voice noise, we had Pro Multiband Dynamics. This is kind of the wild card. And then the last was Acon Digital Extract Dialogue. And feel free to go back and watch after this is uploaded on YouTube to vote. I'll tell you my thoughts after I look at some of the chat here. Let's see. To me, ProTools Multiband is the best. This is a good question. How long did it take you to train your ear to know where and what specific frequencies to remove with noise reduction? It's just time. Any tricks for that would be just doing the work, just mixing. Simon says, I use 3 Cedar, 1 for each band. I used to work that way, but I just use 1 now. And Cedar's kind of nice because you can change the spectrum from low to mid to high, low plus mid, mid plus high, and then full. Okay, here's a good vote. DNS1, Acon, then Pro Multiband Dynamics, then RX Voice Denoise. Freedom says, I love the sound of dialogue extract personally. This person's asking about, what about spectral layers? That's on my list. I've just been too busy with work to actually try it. Margarita says DNS1, Acon iZotope Pro MB. Cedar sounded good to me. To me, it was between Cedar and RX. So yeah, pretty wide spectrum of votes here, which is good. So my thoughts are, these are all great options and they all do stuff to the audio. There's some strengths to each of these. The strength of Pro Multiband Dynamics is it comes with ProTools. You probably have this in, even if you have like DaVinci Resolve, you have some kind of multiband dynamics. The strength of Acon, I feel like the digital extract can get out more of the noise, but it has the downside of having the most artifacts. And I know they're hard to hear. You really have to be listening closely. But those little digital imperfections it adds, to me, kind of relegate this to being used a little less. And that's kind of my litmus test for most things is, can I hear the plugin working? As soon as I can hear it working, I back off. So I would say the Cedar, the benefit is it sounds very natural. Our ears are kind of conditioned to this sound because it's been used in every, major feature film produced in Hollywood since the mid 2000s. RX Voice Denoise, I actually didn't mind it so much in the gentle filter. And like I said, I've used other versions, but these are kind of I don't really use multiband dynamics. I brought this one up because people have it and I want to keep people from spending more money if possible. So yeah, I like these 3. I kind of gravitate towards Cedar. Let's just try. I haven't actually done this. I want to compare DNS1 to, they gave me an NFR for VoiceX. So I want to try this. And I also want to try, I don't know that anybody has ever done this, ScreenVox. Let's try these. This is like Cedar versus Cedar here. And I think, yeah, if I bring all these up, this will be a good test. This is a tough track because it's a distant boom. This was not like a well-trained boom op. He was helping for free, so, you take what you can get. So let's start with, do I have my selection? Oh my goodness, we don't want to do that. Put these back down. Let's start with Cedar DNS1.
I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body.
Okay.
Just here. I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Just here. I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body.
Okay, so the VoiceX 2 actually sounds really good. I might buy this. It kind of sounds like the Acon. Interesting. This is cool. So the ScreenVox gets you those digital space monkeys going on. I'll show you what I mean. In between the words, you can hear the kind of sound.
I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Just here. You know, I would, man, but my back and this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Look, you know, just here. You know, I would, man, but my back.
That is fascinating. So one cool thing about this VoiceX 2 is you can voice level, and that's kind of a secret trick that I like to do for stuff. Sometimes you have a line that just needs to be brought up a little bit instead of the noise being brought down. So let's try that workflow.
You know, I would, man, but this job, it just really takes a toll on the body. Look, you know.
That is cool. This is pretty sweet, actually. So Cedar told me about this, and they're like, you know, you should give VoiceX 2 a try, and I really like it. I think I'm gonna plunk down my cash for this. Yeah. So maybe I'll, you know what I could do? Oh man, I need to look back at the thing they sent me. I wonder if I can use my own affiliate link so I can get like $20 back or whatever. That would be cool. So yeah, VoiceX 2, I'm going to say thumbs up. Yeah, what's really interesting about this, I shouldn't show you guys this. So it kind of goes along with that secret weapon thing. So in iZotope, one of my favorite things to do, you can see I already have this set up as I have extract on my plugin. So if you go to preferences, keyboard, preset, let's look at the commands showing, I forget if there's a dash, I think, yeah. So apply plugin, I have on my keyboard shortcut set to Shift plus P. And basically extract dialog sits just kind of in the background waiting for me to Shift P some stuff. But I think I'm going to switch this. Do they have VST3? No. Interesting. So that, maybe I need to, I forget if I had this open. I might have to rescan it. Shoot. I lost it. Applications, iZotope. I really shouldn't be showing you guys my computer because there's sensitive stuff on here. All right, let me see if it's got to be more than just, okay, I see it's in Cedar Audio Limited. Okay, cool. So I think I'm going to change this. I think I'm going to switch this out to Cedar, and I'm just going to do that for stuff. Because sometimes I'll have to bring up a line, you know, like their head turns or whatever, and I'll just need to do this. So I'll highlight it and I'll Shift P it, and yeah, it brings it up. So cool. So that's my kind of secret tip, is in iZotope, using the plugin to boost lines. So I'm just going to highlight, you can see I've got feather selection turned on. So I'm going to highlight this, and it brings up, let me do it like 10 times. Ooh, that doesn't sound good. That's too much. That's too much. That's too much. It doesn't work always. I mean, that's just too buried for it to work. Yeah. So interesting. Yeah. This is cool. Thank you guys for bearing with me on this. I think VoiceX 2 is kind of my new, I think I'm going to lean into this a little bit. So yeah, the ScreenVox, you know, it's fine, but it does have some artifacts. The VoiceX 2 is very transparent. So I'm going to do some more digging on this. Okay. Yeah, I know that iZotope audio isn't going through the stream. It was just more for me to show you guys visually bringing up the waveforms. Okay. So let me just consult my outline real quick. We talked about identifying over processed audio. We did side-by-side examples. Oh, listener fatigue is a really good thing to talk about. So if you do noise reduction all the time, those little micro artifacts end up building up. They build up on the tracks. They build up in like just the timeline of your project, your film or your show. And it starts to be kind of fatiguing, just like compression, dynamic range compression can be very grating on people's ears. You know, there's like studies done on psychoacoustics where too much compression, people start to check out. They stop listening. So you have to keep that in mind when you're doing noise reduction, that not just for the sake of the quality of the audio, but the actual kind of psychological response to your mix. Too much noise reduction is not good. The other thing is, think about in the scheme of AI replacing us. People are terrified of that. AI is going to take our jobs as mixers, as dialogue editors. Well, yeah, if you are processing everything, if you're overcooking the chicken on every mix, an AI is going to be able to replicate that. You can hear that on those AI gorilla videos or Bigfoot where he's like, hey, I'm here, I spilled a beer or whatever. Like, you can hear the digital nastiness in there because that's what the AI has been trained on. It's been trained on extracted dialogue from noise. And as artists, we have the decision-making ability to accept the noise and to harness the noise and to use the noise and to massage it a little bit without just nuking it for 10 minutes in the microwave. So that's kind of like training your ear to not just want to hear noise reduced stuff all the time. Training it to use it is really important. So yeah, let's see. There's some good questions here. Could you use VoiceX to create room tone? The problem with all these is that when you turn the voice all the way down, there's still some artifacts left behind. So I haven't had luck with that. Really, Absentia DX is kind of my main room tone creation tool. The ambience match in iZotope is not great. Yeah, this was something I wanted to cover. We're kind of running out of time, but do you noise reduce lav mics more? So generally what I do is if the boom is really noisy, I'll just bring it down. And the nice thing about having multiple mics is you can, bring the boom down and have the lav mics up. So I just don't noise reduce as much in general. But I guess balance between, I would say the boom I tend to noise reduce less because I like the natural sound of the boom. And the lavs I will noise reduce a little bit more, but I really don't like to. I like to just use their better signal to noise ratio and not do much noise reduction. Alexander says, it may just be my computer, but when I go to scan my plugins in RX, it stalls. Yeah, there's some issues with that. Speaking of plugins, if I could just plug AutoComp, which you guys have been listening to for the whole stream. This is a compressor I made, a compressor plugin, and this is an automatic compressor. So you want to use this after noise reduction, but this is, to my knowledge, one of the only automatic compressors with automatic makeup gain, safety limiter, and automatic. The threshold is not automatic, but all the other parameters, the makeup gain, the ratio, and the other parameters are automatic. And this is what you've been listening to for the whole stream. So I can go from just a little whisper to being really loud, and it does a nice job of evening things out. So I've heard people using these on either dialogue bus or Foley tracks, and it seems to be doing pretty well. I haven't it's a soft launch. I haven't put out the email telling people about this yet, but if you're interested in it, I've got it on my website. It's $50. $50. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. Multiple light passes, we could talk about that a little bit. You can use multiple types of noise reduction. For example, you could do a tiny bit of Acon, like 4. You could do this. and then Cedar on top of it, or RX voice denoise on top of it. This will give you some flexibility when you're mixing to have, you know, more noise reduced, but have some flexibility of taking some of it back, you know, taking it off, like reducing the amount of noise reduction, because that is a note you'll get from directors. They'll say things like, the dialogue sounds a little weird, or it sounds a little hollow, or it sounds like a tin can, or it sounds over-processed. And that means you need to back off your processing. If you audio suite or offline process the audio, how are you going to address that note? You can't. You cannot address that note without going back to the original. And at that point, your dialogue edit may be insufficient because you've edited with noise reduction in mind. So I'll harp on that every stream pretty much. Dialogue edit first, then mix. And also real-time noise reduction, something like Cedar or RX voice denoise, something that is not AI-based, that is just a standard low latency noise reduction tool, which the Cedar ones that we've shown today are, especially DNS1, you can have like 50 instances of this and have almost no latency. Those are important to maintain your adjustability through the mix. Okay. I'm just looking through the questions now. Do you have to fill a dialogue hole when you break out PFX? Yes. Yeah, you have to fill it because you'll have a hole in your dialogue stem, which isn't good. Can Absentia add noise to ADR like iZotope's dialogue match? So I don't like to do that. I don't like to add noise to ADR. If I had to ADR, let's say this line here, we're not going to listen to this. I'm just going to show you. Maybe this is too off mic. Here's how you match your ADR fill. Like that. You add fill, and then you can plop the ADR on top, and you have fill on your dialogue tracks. You can EQ the ADR without EQing the noise, and that's the correct way to edit fill for ADR. Okay, we have a video request for file management. I'm not great at that. Oh, WNS. Somebody else mentioned this earlier in the stream. WNS. I've used it. I know some big time mixers who like Waves WNS. It's kind of like a Cat 43 or like a less, I don't want to say less good. I don't want Waves to come after me, but a less precise version of Cedar DNS1. And it's fine. If you have Waves and you're paying their blood libel every month or year for the Waves update plan, then yeah, go for it. You know, get the WNS because it's probably $0 extra based on the subscription you're paying. But I like DNS. I like Cedar better. They're also, anytime I've had an issue, I've reached out to them, and within like 24 hours, they've gotten back to me. So yeah, it's kind of like it's not quite a boutique company, but it has that feel of like going into Gotham Sound or Coffee Sound and, you know, talking with your guy, or Sweetwater. Sweetwater is a good example of that too. Oh, Vocaline. Okay. No. So Milo, I was referring to Dream Petrucci, who said, I was wondering if you could do a video talking about file management. So Vocaline. So I've done videos on that. I'll just show you real quick. I already did it at the top of the stream. Auto align post. This is what I use for lining up multiple mics. If you're talking about multiple people talking, you pick your anchor, which is usually the boom, and you just render it. And it time and phase aligns the audio. I'll show you what it sounds like. Let me turn these off.
Put it down.
You know, I would, man, but my back and...
So that's what I use. Good question. Let's see, workflow tips, gain staging. We talked, automation. So to preview automation, I'll show you this real quick. Make sure your track is in touch or latch. Bring up your automation, go to preview. Let's unbypass this, and you see these are red. Now what you can do is set your controls and then Option Command question mark. Then we're going to go out of preview mode and you'll see what happens. So Option Command question mark is right to, where is it? I don't see it on here, but that's what it is. So you'll see this will pop down once the clip starts. So you can use the learn. I don't like the learn because it dips these faders way too much, but that's how you do preview automation with noise reduction. We did the clips. We talked about struggles. Okay. I'm ready to wrap it up. Finally, I'm ready to wrap things up. I'm trying to be more organized with my streams. I've had some great disparaging comments about being scatterbrained and not being slow enough for, greenhorns, beginners to follow along. So I'm trying to cover both bases, the experienced people and the inexperienced people. So if I'm doing better on that, let me know. If not, I will keep trying because I don't want to just say too bad, forget you guys. I really want everybody who watches a stream or video to get something out of it to help them in their journey with audio post-production. So I welcome, give me all the heat that you got. Like if you think I'm failing at something, let me know. I'll try to do a better job. If you want to see more of something that I'm doing, let me know and I'll try to focus on that. It's really based on user input at this point. Because I've covered all the stuff I want to cover at least once, and I can always go back and do drill down me sharp, steel sharpen steel, as they say. So keep that feedback coming. And yeah, I think just to summarize kind of what we talked about, when you're noise reducing, if you think about it from the viewer's perspective, they are not really going to care how much noise reduction you use. There are some exceptions to that. If a line is super buried and you need to bring it out, then that's a story point. You have to use noise reduction as a tool, but don't feel that you have to hit everything with the hammer just because you have a hammer in your hand. Feel free to skip noise reduction or to go easy on it, to back off on it, because it's so easy to overcook the chicken and nobody likes to eat dry chicken. So I challenge you to think critically about noise reduction, to really question your decision-making, and be critical of your own work. Like, don't get down on yourself, but just question it, like just try to be precise with your work and not just blanket everything with noise reduction. So, yeah, that's it. I think that's all I wanted to cover. And look at your audio, the dialogue especially. You want to have things have high quality, and high quality doesn't mean clean. High quality just means that it sounds pleasing to your ear. So clean, sure, not sterile. Don't go for sterile. Go for clean, go for rich, and go for, what you think would sound good to people, not just what'll sound clean. So try these different plugins, try the ones you have. Make sure like you're not just spending money out the wazoo, and see what sounds best to your ears. And, also like feel free to check your work on different speakers. Check it on a TV, check it on headphones. That's a really good way to make sure you're not doing too much. So thank you guys for tuning in, and yeah, keep the comments coming. People say they can't hear me. I've got good audio on going out on the stream, so it must be a YouTube thing. Yeah. So I'll see you guys on the next stream. Till then, take care.